Closed captioning of this program is made possible by the Fireman's Fund Foundation.
The drug Truvada, just approved by the FDA for HIV prevention, raises hope and concern on the eve of next week's International AIDS Conference. Will Google loss put Yahoo back on the map? CEO Marissa Mayer promises new life for the struggling Silicon Valley company and generates a lot of buzz. San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee gets pushback from a controversial stop and frisk policy as the issue of perjury charges are dismissed, and Sheriff Ross Mercarini's trial continues with testimony from his wife. Plus, an interview with the head of the largest sorority for African American women and its impact on communities around the globe. Coming up next. Good evening, I'm Belva Davis, and welcome to This Week in Northern California. Joining me tonight on our news panel are Rachel Gordon, San Francisco Chronicle City Hall reporter, Jolie Odell with Venture Beat, and Lisa Alafacera, editor of KQED's State of Health blog. Lisa, there was promising news today. Some people are very excited about, but you seem a little bit cautious that maybe hope is more what we're seeing here now than actual evidence that we've come across.
No. I think that, so Truvada was approved earlier this week by the FDA as it had already been approved as a treatment for AIDS, and now it's been approved for a new use to prevent HIV infection. This is, some activists and some researchers are calling this a milestone, that it's the first time in more than 30 years of this epidemic that we have an actual drug that can prevent people from acquiring the virus. The concern comes from a handful of activists who call this a catastrophe, who worry that people might abandon safer sex practices and put themselves at risk of acquiring the virus. So just to kind of run down the numbers, Truvada in men who have sex with men and engage in high-risk behavior, it is reducing their risk of acquiring the HIV virus by 42% in heterosexual couples where one partner is HIV negative, the other partner is HIV positive. It's reduced their risk of acquiring the virus by 75%. This is as long as they also use safer sex practices.
I read one quote, though, where somebody was implying that maybe the introduction of Truvada was an introduction to the beginning of the end.
So,
in terms of fighting a cure.
It's certainly a new weapon in the arsenal against HIV, which sort of segues into the International AIDS Conference, which starts this weekend. And they're calling, that's where as a whole, one of the themes of the conference is the beginning of the end.
Lisa, this is targeted at the risk groups, but is this going to be widely available and affordable to people who could benefit from it?
It's a very expensive drug. No big surprise. It's closing in on $14,000 a year. It needs to be taken daily. And for right now, researchers are saying it should only be used on a case-by-case basis, and the groups that are targeted are men who engage in high-risk behavior, men who have sex with men who engage in high-risk behavior, and heterosexual couples where one is negative, one is positive. But no one is saying that this should be widely disseminated to the population as a whole. It's really for these specific groups. And in addition, people who are taking the drug are supposed to come in every 3 months to be tested for HIV and other STDs, and to make sure that they are seeing this only in conjunction with doctors who specialize in treating people with HIV/AIDS.
Well, we have about 54 million people that in poor regions of the world who have not had access to some of the treatments that we've become accustomed to in this country. And in some regions, there are millions who have little chance because of the economies of those countries.
This is a big issue in sub-Saharan Africa, where HIV has devastated many countries. And in those countries, while there's been, in large part because of efforts by the U.S. and other developed countries to send therapy to these countries, that many people have access to treatment that they didn't have before. But still, I think it's in South Africa, only half of people infected with HIV only half of people with AIDS have access to treatment. So the idea that we're going to be disseminating drugs widely as a preventive puts these countries really in a tough position, because are we not going to treat people who have the disease in order to prevent others from not acquiring the virus?
Just when you talked about how it's the steps you have to do to be successful with this drug, as you said, every day, see your doctor regularly. We see that how difficult that has been even without this drug, especially for high-risk populations who are engaging in unsafe sex when people know they shouldn't be. Is there going to be a component not just getting people drugs, but also somehow bringing in education and outreach and getting the word out to people of what you need to do to stay safe and healthy?
That's all part of the plan. But you can certainly appreciate that if you have we need multiple levers to address prevention. And so one of these levers is, this is the first new idea we've had in 30 years of this disease. The only thing we had before this was safe sex.
So, Lisa, a few highlights from the conference coming up in Washington.
The conference starts on Sunday. It's the first time it's been in the U.S. in 22 years. That's largely due to the travel ban on people who are HIV positive were banned from entering this country. That ban was lifted in 2010. 25,000 researchers, 2,000 journalists. Barbara Lee, Congresswoman from the East Bay, will be one of the opening speakers right before George W. Bush. A lot of people don't know they work together on a lot of AIDS issues. There's going to be a lot of news coming out, and so it'll be an exciting week.
Well, we had some different kind of news coming out of Silicon Valley. A surprise on two fronts. We had some changes from Google to Yahoo, but we also started a new debate about the place of women in the world of high tech and business, period.
I think we've also started an interesting debate on new mothers in high tech and executive positions as well. Marissa Mayer not only announced that she was going to be moving from one huge Silicon Valley company to another huge Silicon Valley company, but she announced that she's going to be a mother. And oh my word, the internet has had so much to say about that.
Well, who's saying it? Is it
a lot of everybody is talking about that.
Is it a reflection of people who are writing on it, or someone feeding them a line or two about
everybody
she can't
who's
do this?
written about it has mentioned that this is going to be difficult, but when you look at the things Marissa has done in her career, pulling 130-hour work weeks with her strategic showering and sleeping techniques, I don't think that she's going to have to do any less to be an excellent mother and an excellent CEO. She's kind of superhuman in that way, and I think she's going to have to use those superhuman abilities to get through the next year.
And this can really change the culture, not only of Silicon Valley, but perhaps companies across America who have made it very difficult for women to be, or a lot of them made it difficult to be successful career people as well as mothers. So basic things like on-site child care, giving people time off to breastfeed, to go to parent-teacher conferences, all those things. Do you think it's going to have a ripple-down effect because it is so high profile?
Well, I think, pregnancy is the new yoga in a lot of industries. In Hollywood, it's that way. And if you look at women like Randy Zuckerberg, she kind of did the same thing, where she had a child, she had a really rich home life, and she had an amazing career all at the same time. And I think the lesson here is not that you can have it all, but if you have a really good salary, really good childcare, and a supportive company culture, you can have it all.
Well, let's turn to what it means to the two companies. What does it mean to Google, and what does it mean to Yahoo? Is this Yahoo's chance finally to get out of the box?
Well, for Google, honestly, I don't think it means that much. They turned her down for a promotion last year. She was up for an SVP role, and they gave it to somebody else.
That SVP, Senior Vice President?
Senior Vice President, yes, ma'am. And I don't think that they are going to be missing her. They had been pulling her out of the public eye. They'd been pulling her products a little bit out of the public eye as well. Now, what this means for Yahoo, they have had, let's just say, they've had bad luck with finding a good CEO.
Why would they do that if she's a successful executive, as she has been, and has been the face of Google?
Well, why would Yahoo pick her?
No,
Or-
why would
Why would-
Google, as
well,
you were talking about
isn't
what she
that the
faced at
big
Google?
mystery? I mean, she is powerful. She's a wonderful presence. She's amazing in all kinds of product. They threw email at her. She came out with Gmail. They said, okay, we're going to give you local products, and she did a great job there. My only inkling is that somewhere at some point in her long career at Google, there was some political mess, some kerfuffle. And let's be honest, when you've worked at some place since you're 24 years old and they see every mistake you make as a young person coming up through your career, you're going to ruffle some feathers along the way.
So, but isn't Yahoo, a huge part of their business is as a media company, and Ross Levinson, who is their interim CEO, had a strong media background, and a lot of people thought he was a natural to be picked as the permanent CEO because of this skill that he has, this talent that he has, and Marissa Mayer does not have this background. Do you think that'll hurt Yahoo?
I really don't think so. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Levinson had a lot of skills with media, but Marissa has shown that she has a wide, diverse range of skills. I mean, she has handled so many products, and I think Yahoo is so much more than just a media company. It's a wonderful technology company. They've got brilliant engineers working there. They have Flickr, this big photo product. They have social products, and I think that what they need is someone like her who can handle all those very, very different things equally well and negotiate in the
She's an
boardroom.
engineer by training, isn't she? And then
she is.
she also is not coming cheap, is my understanding. I mean, this is not a $20,000 a year job.
Her contract has been all over the internet, and nobody can figure out how much she's making. Some are saying 40 million, some are saying up to 100 and something million a year. Nobody can figure it out, but it's a lot, yeah. She doesn't come cheap.
So I guess her biggest challenge is to get through these first few months and not only produce a child, but something wonderful within that first opening period.
I think everybody has very high expectations, and when you contrast someone who is powerful and successful and pretty well liked in the public eye, and then a company, their brand is just universally despised by people who don't use Yahoo products every day, she has got her work cut out for her. But even a little bit of success will be a lot of success for Yahoo and for Ms. Mayer.
I mean, it seems like it was a big bump just for Yahoo to get this. I mean, there has been nothing but almost positive stories about this on so many levels.
There's been some doubt, but I think everybody is pretty optimistic about what this is going to do for the company and what could happen in the future. We'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, we will have to wait and see. And we have been waiting to see on Rachel's story for a very long time. Once back, whenever it was, we elected a sheriff, and since then he's not been able to be the sheriff.
Right. I mean, this has been going on since January. It's likely to go on much longer, but there are a lot of developments in this case against talking about the official misconduct charges against suspended Sheriff Ross Mercury in San Francisco. He's before an ethics panel in San Francisco. They are looking at the mayor's charges. The mayor at least suspended Mercury from office and elected to office in March without pay, and now he's trying to remove him permanently. So this is something that's been going in fits and starts, kind of slowing around. And this week was really kind of the most news we've had in a while. Mercury's wife, Eliana Lopez, who's an actress from Venezuela, had been in Venezuela with their young son since March as well. She came back to the Ethics Commission to testify on behalf of her husband, saying that he never should have been prosecuted. We must say that he also has pleaded guilty to one count of misdemeanor false imprisonment of his wife. That stems from an incident that started on December 31st when he grabbed her arm during an argument, and it bruised. So that led to a criminal conviction and then his administrative misconduct proceedings.
So where does it stand now? I mean, who makes the next move?
Okay, so there are a couple of moves that have to be made. The Ethics Commission is going to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Interestingly, Mercury had once served on the Board of Supervisors. They'll say whether they believe that the charges of official misconduct should be upheld. If that happens, you need 9 votes, affirmative votes on the Board of Supervisors out of 11. That's a very high bar to do it. It's only been done once successfully in the history of San Francisco. And then if Mercury is removed from office, he can then go to court and challenge it on that front. And the attorney said absolutely they'll do that.
Now, what about these questions about Mayor Lee and whether he perjured himself?
Right. I mean, this is a really fascinating case. It's legal, it's criminal justice, and it's definitely political in San Francisco. So this is one citywide elected official going after another citywide elected official. As these are going through, these hearings are proceeding, Mayor Lee took the stand last month, and right away people said he committed perjury. Mayor Lee says absolutely that's not true on two issues. One, did he talk to a supervisor, member of the Board of Supervisors, about these charges beforehand? He said no, he didn't. And the other one, did he send an intermediary to offer Ross a job outside of the sheriff's department, a lower level job? The mayor says absolutely not. Now, the commission ruled on that on Thursday night, and they said, look, we're not even going to go down that path about perjury with the mayor. That's a different story for a different day. Right now, we're just going to focus on these official misconduct charges against the sheriff.
Well, there is another different story. The mayor has more than that problem to handle, Rachel.
Yeah, he absolutely does. So Mayor Lee came in as really the get-along mayor when he was first appointed last year, and then when Gavin Newsom went to become a lieutenant governor, and then he was elected in his own right in November. He was supposed to get along with everyone. He went and proposed this idea that kind of blew a lot of people out of the water. He said San Francisco, because of a high violence, particularly in the African-American community where there's been a lot of gun violence, maybe we should look in San Francisco at what New York is doing with the very controversial stop and frisk policy. Now, right away, his police chief, who Lee hired, said, I don't think we want to do that here. There's a lot of concern about racial profiling. A majority of the Board of Supervisors said, Mayor, I don't think we want to do that here. He hasn't really backed down except to say if he does go forward with a policy, it will not be based on racial profiling. It will not impinge on anyone's constitutional rights. But he said, look, we've got to do something about this violence problem. There have been community petitions to try to stop it. Again, he has a political pressure from the board, hesitancy from his police chief, so he might come up with some other kind of plan. Can
he really say, though, that it's not going to be racial profiling? Is he speaking for every officer, every police officer?
Right. I mean, a politician can say everything, right? Then it matters how does the police department carry this out? That policy has been under fire, not just in New York City, but other places where people say there really are a lot of problems with this. The ACLU has been very strong against it, as well as other civil rights legal organizations saying there are problems. He's in a tricky position. He wants to know there has been a spike of gun violence, especially in the southeastern neighborhoods in San Francisco. What is he going to do to stop that? One of the big problems is people have illegal guns. How do you get them away from people before they start shooting folks? And that's one of the questions he's looking at. I think we're going to see a very modified version. There is going to be pushback, not only politically, but potentially through litigation if he moves forward with this position.
Well, we had this terrible case of gun violence in the last 24 hours. That might have some impact on the public's acceptance for him to try to do something about getting guns out of the city.
Right. I mean, there is, in San Francisco is a very long, solid record of gun control. They probably will look at some things. It's difficult to own a gun. It's difficult to use a gun. In San Francisco, you have to keep it locked up. So there are a lot of ways to do it. I thought one of the most interesting things with this is how the mayor's police chief kind of publicly went and questioned his boss's determination to at least even look at stop and frisk. He didn't talk to him beforehand, it seems, and as I said, it took a lot of people by surprise.
And the hospitals that he had hoped to have constructed here on a very complicated situation, and we have about 30 seconds.
I'll do it very quickly. That issue is on hold. California Pacific Medical Center wants to build a big hospital on Cathedral Hill in San Francisco. There are concerns about the impact on jobs, housing, transportation, and whether St. Luke's, which is a sister facility, will remain open as well. So they were supposed to have a vote at the Board of Supervisors this week, and they said, let's just wait a couple more weeks.
Well, Rachel, you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, joining me next is Carolyn House Stewart, International President of Alpha Kappa Alpha, one of the largest organizations that you just may not have heard of. Founded in 1908, Alpha Kappa Alpha is the oldest and largest organization for college-educated African American women, with 964 chapters around the globe. Former members include civil rights leaders Coretta Scott King and Rosa Parks. Under the leadership of Carolyn House Stewart, for 2 years, a primary mission of the organization is service, finding solutions and providing assistance to communities in need. It also offers an emerging young leaders program to middle school girls, inspiring leadership skills in youth to help meet the challenges of tomorrow, in addition to several health, human rights, and economic initiatives. Next week, the group gathers in San Francisco for their annual conference for the first time since the 1950s. And joining me now is the international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha, attorney Carolyn House Stewart. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're coming here with a large group of people
Yes.
to introduce. How many AKAs will there be here?
8,656 are registered for this conference.
What we hear so much about from talking about the African American community or the needs of that community, yet your charge, your mission for your service in this organization is service, providing it. How do you start? What do you do when there's so much out there that needs to be done?
Our mission since 1908 has been service to all mankind, and each administration has a signature program. This administration's signature program is the Emerging Young Leaders Program. Additionally, we look at health, education, economic security, health, and social justice and human rights. So these are the things that have been a focus of Alpha Kappa Alpha since 1908. The needs of our people do not change. We will always have poverty. You've heard the poor will always be with us. We believe that everyone is entitled to good health care. We believe that everyone is entitled to human rights and simple social justice. That includes voter education as well as voter participation. Economic security. We all should have a decent place to live. And of course, health care has always been a topic because if we're not healthy, we can't serve others. So service is what we talk about. It is in our genes. It's what we do.
You've been doing this now for almost 100 years. You have, I'm not sure, how many members are there?
We have 260,000 members.
Oh, so that's quite a little army to get out there to do the chore. One of the things that you chose as a focus was working with middle school girls in terms of leadership. Why did you choose middle school girls?
Middle school girls, that's the impressionable age. And all of our statistics show middle school is the first contact with law enforcement and the criminal justice system. Middle school is the first contact with AIDS and HIV, the Center for Disease Control. Young girls as young as 11 are now having sex. And so these are things that we can stop. We want a young lady to pursue her dreams. That's when peer influences, that's when you start to make wise choices. And so part of our mission with the Emerging Young Leaders Program is to really instill leadership and civic engagement as a way of life. Most mentoring programs are just see a young lady and be like her when you grow up. Alpha Kappa Alpha for centuries, we've worked with young girls who were going to succeed. This program takes a young lady who may decide, I want to be a nail tech. We would say, oh no, you need to go to college. Now we're saying, that's fine, but why not take business classes and own your own nail tech salons and make civic engagement as a way of life? As you know, all things being equal, SAT scores, the young lady who will get that scholarship is the one lady who has the most community service hours. So if you start to build your community service bank in middle school, when you're in high school, you won't have to read books to someone in the cancer unit. You've already read your stories. Now you want to go to the labs and work with the doctors. You want non-traditional careers. You like to work in the park? We won't teach you how to plant flowers. We will teach you agriculture so you can get a job, because food will be our new challenge in the future. So it's just it's a wonderful program, and it's civic engagement, character building, academic enrichment, and service.
So what are some of the things that you'll be doing here in San Francisco?
In San Francisco, we've already gone to your Larkins Youth Centers. We're donating school supplies there. We're having a youth summit at the Joseph Lee Recreational Center there. We have backpacks that have been donated and supplies from all of our sorors across the country. Sorors is what we use as service. In Atlanta, we had a youth summit with over 600 students, and in Atlanta past summer, we donated 233,600 school supplies items. So we're still counting for what we're going to leave in San Francisco for the various schools in the area.
What are some of the things open to the public? I think one that attracted my attention was it's a one-day museum, but tell us why that's so important.
That's our Alpha Kappa Alpha women, unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. We know about Coretta Scott King, we know about Rosa Parks, but so many other women of African American descent who are Alpha Kappa Alpha women are the unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. They fed the freedom riders. They drove during the boycott. They loaned their names to lawsuit for equal pay for teachers who had different salaries because you're an African American teacher, but you taught the same things. So these are women who we don't know about every day, but they're African American women who are part of the struggle, and they're these unsung heroes. And so we wanted to honor them. I'm a history major, and as you read about people like Carolyn McKinstry, who was a survivor of the 16th Street Baptist Church. She wrote a book entitled While the World Watched. She will be one of the people at the opening of the Civil Rights Museum. Bernice King will be there to give greetings, and we have over 340 Alpha Kappa Alpha women who will be a part of this Unsung Heroes of the Civil Rights Museum.
Well, you'll be at the Moscone Center, and I guess programs happening all around the city. But I imagine, can we go online or any place?
Yeah, we're at www.aka1908.com.
Okay. Well, a lot. Carolyn House Stewart, we really thank you so much for joining us. And next time I'll find out why you stayed away so long. And my thanks to all of our guests this evening for being with us. And that is all for tonight. Visit kqed.org/thisweek to catch up on past episodes and segments, to subscribe to our newsletter and our podcast, and to share your thoughts about the program. I'm Belva Davis. Thank you for watching. Good night.